When the regional publishing crisis occurred at the beginning of last year, and titles were closed down and journalists were dismissed, possibly several hundred, people came up to me and said, well, now your time has come, meaning the Camden New Journal, and you can tell people how you've done it as an independent. I'm not too sure about that, the more thought I've given to it, and I'm not too sure about whether lessons can be learned, perhaps one or two, from the Camden New Journal. First of all, there's the company structure, and there's the area in which you're circulating. We're a giveaway newspaper, incidentally. Company structure, well, it's the nearest the Camden New Journal is to what you would find as somewhere between a cooperative and I suppose a sort of fool's paradise. But that's where we are. I am both the editor and the sole director, in effect, the owner. We were formed in 1982, following, as you may know, a dispute of which in which I took part. The editor, the managing director of the owning company, sold the title for £1 to myself and a colleague, and we set off with a £50,000 loan from HSBC's predecessor, Midland Bank. We ran into trouble in the first 6 months, went into the red, got a top of 100k more or less as a loan, and it took about 2.5 years, and then we went into the black, so about the mid-80s, and within the black, and we've expanded more or less ever since. It's things I firmly believe in, which I think are quite important. One is we have, and this may amuse people here, an egalitarian pay structure. I really believe that's important for the company. Differential is roughly about 3 to 1. The area we circulate in, it's peculiar, it's odd, it's unique, fairly unique. Is it another place in the UK, which has been the home of so many radicals since the early 19th century? Poets starting from Keats, William Hazlitt, going towards the end, Dickens, George Bernard Shaw. Today, almost every novelist you can think of, who's well known, most of them live in or near Hampstead, which we cover. Politicians. So there's a uniqueness in that sense, but much more importantly, there are very intensely lived in villages, and I think I don't spot them in other parts of London, in which you will have a population of 7,000 or 8,000 or 9,000 people, and of them, several hundred, maybe 1,000 plus, are what I call thinking, active readers. So there's a uniqueness about the area. Another thing that's important is to tailor the paper to the community. One of our competitors, shall remain nameless, produces a tabloid paper with sort of what I call down, very poor quality stories to do with crime and sex and so on. Circulation has declined. Once it was almost 30,000. I remember when we launched a paper in '82. It's now about 5 as a paid for. And it still produces the wrong type of paper for the area, which has changed enormously and has become far more middle class than it was 20 or 30 years ago. Absolutely no point in producing that paper. So whether anybody can learn any lessons from all that, I've absolutely no idea. I doubt it. But all I would say is, in terms of numbers, we started with 35,000. We now print 50,000 copies of the CNJ and 20 plus of the Evening Tribune and about 14 of the other paper, the West End Extra. My advice to anybody who wants to start a paper, if there be anybody here with such a mad idea, is keep it egalitarian and look at every corner of the newspaper's existence. And that means you talk daily, as I do. What's in the bank is a question I ask normally when I go into the office, to the accounts clerk. Talk to your, if you're doing a giveaway, to your distribution. And of course, if you're schizophrenic, as I'm afraid I am, of course then take over, as I do, the editorial side.